If you want to reach 2000 ELO on chess.com as a casual player, and you want to stop losing badly in your chess games, there's a lot of good chess openings you can pick from here to win your games. You have to note these openings, like the Berlin defense, and in this video we'll be covering through the anti-Berlin with d3. We'll be covering 5 crucial moves that you have to know in the opening. This is the opening. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. Now we play bishop to b5, and this is the Roy Lopez. Now, black in this position will play the move knight to f6, which will target this e4 pawn in the center. And we have to play the anti-Berlin, which is the move d3 in this position. Now, black's most common move in this position is to play the move bishop to c5. And this is where we have to play the first move of the opening. We have to play bishop takes c6 here. And the idea of taking this knight is that we want to ruin black's pawn structures on the queen side here, but also we're removing a defender from the e5 pawn. And black here has 2 ways they can capture the bishop here. They can either capture with the b pawn, or they can capture with the d pawn. If they take with the d pawn, remember, don't take this pawn, because if you do, you'll get the move queen to d4. And queen to d4 will threaten checkmate and attack your knight. And there's no way for you to defend both threats. However, in some of your games, some players might not know that, and they'll play b takes c6 because they want to capture towards the center. But if they played this, now you can capture the pawn on e5 because there's no queen to e4 anymore. After black captures the bishop with the d pawn, we see that this diagonal is open. So now we have to play the move h3. And this stops any ideas of bishop to g4, pinning the knight. And now we always have this constant threat of attacking this e5. Black will most likely castle in this position. And after castling, now this is the move that we have to remember, which is the move bishop to e3. We're going to offer a trade of bishops. And the idea here is that if the bishop gets taken, we capture back. And what is so good about this position? Well, we're going to castle, and after we castle, we're going to have an open f-file here, and we have an amazing center that we can push later. And this, according to the Lead Chess database, will give us a very big advantage in the endgame. Your opponents will most likely retreat the bishop because they don't want to trade. And after you develop the knight, rook e8, you can just castle. And a lot of people see that the black bishop can go pin the knight against the queen. And so they like to play the move h6 in this position. Now, the fourth critical move you have to play, the crucial move, is to play knight to d2. And there's a couple ideas for knight to d2. First off, you're setting up for the move f4. And maybe what you want to do is place the knight onto c4, and then try to trade the bishop and then play the move f4. So those are a couple ideas. So in this position, black plays bishop to e6. That's a common move, just trying to develop the bishop because it can't really go anywhere else. Now you play f4, you take and take, takes and takes. And in this position, it's an even game, but you have a nice open f-file for your rooks. You do have to be careful of these dark squares with your king, but after king to h1, you're good. And for the rest of the game, all you have to do is just stack your rooks and your queen on the f-file, try to protect and try to advance your pieces towards the king side, and then you win. Here's a game between Magnus Carlsen and Fabiano Caruana. So Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces plays e4. We have e5, knight f3, knight c6, and now we have the Roy Lopez. Fabiano goes for the Berlin defense, and Magnus Carlsen plays d3, protecting the pawn. We have bishop c5, we have takes, and now we have h3, which stops this idea of the pin. Now we have to move knight to d7, so this is another move that your opponents will play if they know the theory. Now bishop to e3, offering a bishop trade, and black will generally decline. Now knight to c6, c3, so it's developing normally, and we have c5. c5 clamps onto this square here for black to use later. Now white will castle, and Fabiano actually develops this knight all the way to g6, which will control this f4 square. And in this position, what do you play as white? Well, you can't play f4 immediately, but what you can do is play the move knight to c4, the common idea being that you want to take this bishop and then play f4 so you can actually execute it. Bishop e6, knight e2, queen to d7. Some players like to sacrifice, but it doesn't work. And in this position, we have takes, and after black takes with the pawn, we have f4. Now takes, knight takes, and rook takes. And now Magnus has a really great position here. He can play triple stack on the f file and target this f7 pawn in the future. So black decides to solidify the pawn chain here on the queen side with the move b6. Now queen to h5, just adding a little bit more pressure onto the f7 square. Black plays d5. And now, because black's king is in the center, we want to open the position as much as possible. And the move that Magnus Carlsen plays to do this is the move d4. He wants to open up everything as much as possible, get the rooks into the game, and the black king is very vulnerable, so this is a good idea. Now we have c4 closing up the center, b3 trying to trade more, and after rook a to f1, now Fabiano castles to the queen side because the center is opening and the king side is very vulnerable. Now after takes, we have a rook sacrifice on f7. And this rook sacrifice, after takes, will lead the black king to be very vulnerable, and the center is still about to open up with the bishop, and so this is very dangerous. So that's why Fabiano in this position plays rook to d7, just trying to trade off pieces and survive. So Magnus Carlsen accepts, takes the d5 pawn, and Fabiano plays g6, attacking the queen. We have queen to g4, check. And in this moment of the game, the players are just maneuvering here. White has the win here. After d7 check, king to d8, it looks like white doesn't have any more firepower. But after bishop to h4, the rook blocks, we have check. And now Fabiano resigns. This is a 2000 rated game between myself playing white against opponent playing black. We have e4, knight to c6, knight f3, e5, bishop to b5, the Roy Lopez, and now my opponent plays the move bishop to c5. So this is still in the opening, but a little bit out of theory because it's not in the move order of the Berlin defense. But I decided to take the bishop here and play the move h3 in this position so I don't get pinned here. Now knight to f3, and f6, that's targeting this e4 pawn. So I play d3, defending the pawn. And in this position, most people just castle. And here, like I suggested, you play bishop to e3, offering a bishop trade. And if they take, remember that this is pretty good for white. And so they decline the bishop trade. And I castle. They play bishop to e6, knight c3. This is developing. And now h3, another common move people play, so they don't get pinned here. Now knight d2. Now I'm getting ready to play the move f4. Now we have queen to d7. Now I play f4. Now takes, and now we have a check. And this check is dangerous here because if you look at these bishops, there's a lot of firepower there. But the only move that I could really play here, I don't want to block with the rook. So I play king to h1. And I'm asking black, do you want to sacrifice the bishop? And in this game, they did sacrifice the bishop onto h3. Now, because this is a challenge, I had to take back, check, and the only move I have is to block with the bishop here. And luckily, there's no more checks because it's covered by the knight and the queen. And I can offer a trade here. Now, knight to g4, targeting this bishop twice. And I play knight to f3, just defending that piece. Now, black decides to check me. And I don't want to go to g1 here because there's going to be some nasty discoveries onto this square. So I just decide to take. Black takes, play queen to e2, just trying to get everything together. Bishop to g3, I develop my last piece into the game. Black takes, and also I don't want to take with the queen, then I'm just going to be in a worse position. So I take with the knight, so I conserve as much material as possible. Now black plays the move g6, knowing that I'm going to have some tactics with this g file because that's where the rook is. Now I play queen to f2, and the idea here is that I just want to probably play queen to f6 and sacrifice the rook in the future so I can open up the king side. Now we have rook to e8. Rook e8, the intention is probably to play something like this, and I don't want to do that. So, but first, I don't really like this queen on h3, so I play rook to g3, and I just want this queen to go out somewhere. And they in the game decide to play queen to h5, and here black still has this idea of trying to maneuver the, and so I don't want to allow that, so I play the move d4 here. Now bishop to b5 here, trying to kick out my knight so they can probably take the e4 pawn. But I just play, if they try to kick me now I just have this nice fork coming in the future here. And so they play the move b4 still. I play knight to e4, and now I get checked. The check, but I can just bring up my king. I could block with the rook, but I think that there's no reason for the king to be on h1. So I can just develop there. It's a little safer. Now my opponent tries to go for this pawn. It's only defended by my queen. So what do I play in this position? Well, first I go check after king to h8. Now knight to f3. And now I'm defending that pawn with the queen and with the knight. And black tries to really try to disrupt my center here. And I could consider a move like playing like c3. But instead, I play rook to h3, just going for a mating idea in this position. Black plays king to g7, and I play queen to h4. The idea is I want to checkmate. And to defend this, black has the move, or they check first, and after I go up, and they now have to move rook to h8, trying to protect that pawn. And there's a move that I missed in this position, which is knight to h7. And the idea here is that if they take with the king, then I can check, and this will be checkmate on h8. And the other idea is, now if they take with the rook, then this rook is just hanging. I did not see this in the game, but what I rather played is after rook to h8 is the move knight to g4, and the idea is now I just want to check here and probably just play. So the idea here is after, let's say black plays a random move, knight f6, so queen f6 check, the king will probably go back and something like this. So this was my idea. In the game, black decided to play the move g5. So g5 attacking the queen, and there's only really one square that I can go to, which is to h5. And I was calculating through taking this pawn, but I didn't think it worked, so I played the move queen to h5. We have rook takes now. Now I sacrifice my knight, and now we have a check. And my opponent at this point knows that they're losing, so they just decide to trade everything. And I was able to convert this position with the knight. Now you know the 5 crucial moves in the opening that you have to play for the anti-Berlin, which is these 5 moves. You have to take the knight with the bishop in the opening, and when the diagonal opens up, play the move h3, bishop to e3, eventually to trade the bishops if you can, and they'll decline, and then eventually you have to play knight d2 so that you can set up for the f4 push. These are the critical moves. Congratulations! Now you're ready to go to 2000 ELO on chess.com.